Erica, can you hear us okay? Erica?
Yolanda, were you talking to me? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to see if you could hear us okay.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all ready over there? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Calling to order the TUSD Bond Oversight Committee meeting of May 15th, 2025. Ms. Borboa, can I get a roll call, please?
Jeffrey Anthony?
Present.
Catherine Arvisu?
Present.
Don Bell?
Present.
Owen Bro-Sanders? Cindy Coleman? Luis Gonzalez? Here. Red Morrow?
Here.
Raghu Nandan? Peter Norquist? Tiffany Rogers?
Here.
Delia Sotelo?
Present.
Sophia Blue?
Here.
Erica Miranda Carter?
Present.
Thank you, Ms. Borboa. I do not see any agenda adjustments unless anyone else has any. I'll move to the next item. All right, so now we're gonna go to our call to the audience. I have a couple of speaker cards here, but I will read the procedures for public participation at board meetings. So at this time during the meeting, members of the audience may address the Bond Oversight Committee in regard to items of concern in person or by sending their written comments to be read into the record. During the call to the audience, the Bond Oversight Committee chair or vice chair will recognize speakers and maintain order by setting appropriate limitations. Any person desiring to speak shall provide their full name and topic on a call to the audience card. When addressing the Bond Oversight Committee, the speaker should begin by stating their full name and topic. Speakers are encouraged to be brief. The maximum speaking time is 3 minutes. Individuals attending the meeting and or addressing the Bond Oversight Committee should observe rules of propriety and good conduct and refrain from impertinent or slanderous remarks. TUSD serves students from all ages, so speakers should be aware that children may be present. At the end of the call to the audience, the Bond Oversight Committee Chair will ask if individual Bond Oversight Committee members wish to respond to a speaker's criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that matter appear on a future agenda. By law, at most, 2 Bond Oversight Committee members can address any single issue raised during the call to the audience. All right, so Sandra Calkins.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, members of the Bond Oversight Committee. My name is Sandra Calkins, and I'm the principal of Mission View Elementary. If you don't already know, Mission View is located in the city of South Tucson. Yes, that is the 1 square mile city of South Tucson. So thank you all for your continued support of our school and the investments you've already made in our campus. I'm here today to respectfully request the acceleration of the timeline for a scheduled bond project, specifically the replacement of our cafeteria flooring. So this project is already allocated with funding in the proposal. We are seeking to move it up in the schedule in order to align with a significant opportunity. Our school was recently awarded a $50,000 cafeteria makeover by the College Football Playoff Foundation, the Big 12. So we're really excited about that. And the reveal is scheduled for October 2nd, 2025, this October. And this event is expected to receive media coverage and offers a powerful platform to showcase how our bond dollars are making a visible and lasting difference in our campus within TUSD. So our school was originally built in 1922. Yes, we are 103 years old. It was last updated in 2004. And our cafeteria serves as a central hub of our school community. And it's more than just a place to eat. It's where we gather, celebrate, and showcase our student talent. The makeover will include new stage curtains, giving a fresh backdrop to our puppetry performance, which received recognition by the Arizona Department of Education for excellence in after-school programs, and also our beloved folklorico and mariachi performances. And both of these programs are a vital part of our cultural identity and a source of pride for our students and families. Our cafeteria also serves as a gathering place for many of our family engagement events, such as literacy or math nights, where we engage families and partner in their child's success. We provide them skills and resources to utilize at home. Replacing the current outdated faded flooring is essential to maximizing the visual and functional impact of our 50,000 makeover transformation. It's a practical upgrade, but also a symbolic one. Our students in South Tucson, many of whom come from high poverty backgrounds, deserve to learn and grow in an environment that reflects their worth and potential. So this is a rare chance to not only enhance a space our students use daily, but also to amplify the visibility of our school to the broader community. We are proud to have maintained a B letter grade and offer strong academics, but we know families are also looking for enrichment opportunities for their children. This makeover, if completed in full by October, becomes a compelling story to share, one that may help attract new families and celebrate the success of our bond investments. So in closing, I respectfully ask for your support to fast track the cafeteria flooring replacement so it may be completed ahead of the October 2nd reveal. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Principal Calkins. Next is Kevin Amadon.
All right, thank you, Bond Oversight Committee, for the opportunity to speak with you today. This is not a written speech on my phone. As many of you know, I don't like to type my speeches. This is my timer because I'd like to talk too much. So I'm here today as the principal of Sabino High School and representing the Sabino community. It's been my pleasure to serve this community as the principal for the last 3.5 years. But I was also a student athlete at Sabino High School, and I played on the same field that our student athletes play on today. Our field is commonly referenced as the concrete parking lot. It is not a safe playing environment for our student athletes. When I first came on to Sabino High School as the principal, we had our 50-year anniversary, and we had many of our original graduating student athletes at this celebration. And when they toured the facility, the things they said to me most was, your students are still subjected to playing on that same field that I had to play on when I was here. We have the dome on our field. We call it the Saber Dome for a reason, because there's a crest on the field that was built for drainage, but because the crest is so high, we can't keep an ample amount of water on the top of the field, so it's continuously dead throughout football season, soccer season, and track season, and it's extremely hard and difficult to play on. Anytime we have a leak underneath the field, it's with regularity that it has to be dug up, which then creates more divots and more ruts and more potholes. At Sabino High School, we have a very strong problem with our gopher community. They're very friendly, but our field is littered with gopher holes, which again creates an unsafe playing surface for our student athletes. I'm here today to ask you to pass and consider the artificial turf implementation for TUSD and particularly for Sabino High School. I do appreciate also that you asked to incorporate the field goal post, because anytime a gust of wind comes by our stadium, we have to take a truck out to the field goal post and tie a rope to the field goal post to pull it back straight before one of our games can continue. Additionally, before I move on, this is an opportunity for TUSD. I was on the Enrollment Task Force Committee, and we talked about how are we going to get our students to our schools and how are we going to keep our students and family happy when they get there and when they're already there. So we've developed some plans behind that and put those actions in place, but now we need some of the glitz and the glams to attract our students to Sabino High School and to TUSD. At Sabino particularly, we compete against Micah Mountain. You don't know, it's brand new facilities, brand new environment. Cienega, Empire, Catalina Foothills, and South Point. All of these schools are doing the things to implement facility improvements to attract students and keep families at their campuses and help support their student athletes in their programs. Lastly, if you can consider the track implementation, we currently have our biggest track program since 2017. But we have continued difficulties with our track as we have inch and a wide gaps that span throughout the track all the way across and all the way around the surfaces. We host multiple middle school and elementary school track events at our site, and we want to continue to do so to support the district as a whole. We want to continue to offer our track and our turf as community involvement and community participation
Your
for our
time's
young
up.
students. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Almadon. Does anyone wish to respond to a speaker's criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter appear on a future agenda?
Yes,
Yes.
I'd like for us to put the Mission View item on a future agenda. I taught there for 6 years, and I can tell you the cafeteria really is the heart of the school, and I think that that would be really beneficial to the community.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving along to item number 4, bond project updates.
All right. Good afternoon. Oh, yeah, I didn't have to ask for a response. Thank you, guys. Because you know I will. All right. So it is well, let me first say to the Bond Oversight Committee Chair and Vice Chair and members, I just want to come before you again just to share some of the exciting projects that are happening in our district right now. It's really getting super exciting because you're starting to see more and more of the projects come into fruition. And I'm excited about what it's going to look like come August and all the accomplishments and how this is going to help the district for students, for families, and future potential students and families. So we're going to start with our grounding, our project status, bond communication, and key dates. Well, all right, we already know, I just want to just reiterate that we are here to create joyful and safe, I can't see over the line there, so I'll go here, places for success here in the district. And we are committed, our team is committed to transparency, accountability, collaboration, customer service, and establishing trusting relationships. So that's something that we have a handshake. We are doing, and that's one of the things that I'm constantly looking at what our processes are and how are we doing that to all of the various stakeholders. We also look at the Bond Oversight Committee as a partner. If you have particular projects or schools you're interested in or school visits, I want to reiterate, let me know, because that's how we partner, you know, where we have that same vision, we have the interest, and we're here to help make sure you're informed because you represent our constituents in Tucson. So let me know. And then I would say on these various presentations, if you can hold your questions to the end just so we can make it through. And then when you do have, which I haven't had any data requests recently, but if you do have data requests, if you could, you know, evaluate them, how does it impact the vote? How does it impact the community awareness? Because we are, when I say busy right now, we are extremely busy preparing before the end of school. So most people think that, you know, with a school district, after school's out, what are you doing? You know, having drinks, or you just, you know, relaxing? No, that's the most busiest time. So just reiterating those things about requests. We want them, but make sure, you know, we're seeking the right things that we want information on. Okay. So I know that everybody had an opportunity to look at the packets, so I don't have to reiterate things that are already in the packet. There are some highlights, however, that I would really like to talk about. One is Camp Cooper. That's underway. They said they're going to start construction on 5/19, which was kind of surprising to me. We are going to do, has anybody seen the videos that I've been doing? And I'll know if you're telling the truth, because I'm going to give you a quiz. The videos I do, what's up in the bond office. Has anybody seen those videos? Okay, at least one. So that's going to be a challenge for you guys, because we're doing that so you can stay informed in many different ways. Well, we're going to do a what's up at the bond office at Camp Cooper, because we had this idea that it would be really, really cool to show the before and after in a video. So I know you guys like the before and after pictures, but what if we do the before and after in a video? So YouTube channel coming soon. I'm letting you know, episode 1. But Camp Cooper, the construction schedule started on 5/19. We also wanted to just reiterate the HVAC school kitchen retrofits. We had a super, super nice letter from the Robeson principal. I don't know if I forgot to ask my boss, if I could read a letter or be able to just kind of summarize that. Is that okay? Well, you guys, when we get positive, it warms our heart, because we're really trying to work 1,000,000 miles a minute. And when you get something that expresses like what's in your heart and what you want to demonstrate, it was just really warming. I'm going to read a little bit of this from Miss Sean Blair. Is it Lon, a principal at Robeson? She said, good morning to the team. I would like to take a moment to express my deepest appreciation to our incredible school community, Dr. Trejo, our dedicated superintendent, school board members, and those who helped make our recent bond approval a reality. Thanks to your support, our school will soon undergo several important upgrades, including the complete removal and replacement of the outdated structural components of the installation of a new HVAC system to replace the current evaporative system, talking about in the kitchens. This much needed improvements will make lasting impact on the comfort, safety, and learning and eating environment for our students and staff. This week, we had the privilege of hosting representatives from Durazo, Mid-State, these are the contractors, demolition companies, so on. Their collaboration and expertise are evident, and we are grateful to be working with such professional teams. We would like to extend a special thanks to Tim Stevens, Damon Ballesteros, our district project manager, as well as Dr. C, affectionately known as Dr. C, who serves as the program manager for the bond. Your leadership and cooperation are key to bringing these projects to life. And then she attached a photo, and that photo we did in our bond Facebook page. So it's starting to happen, and that's because of you. It's because of us being consistent and establishing a cadence to be able to review and look at various projects. So that's one that's happening on the 4 HVAC sites. Blendman, we have Robeson, Robbins, and I'm missing one, Davis. So that's happening. We will be doing a What's Up video on that one as well. That's scheduled for next week, because there's a lot of accommodations when we're doing these type of improvements. So they're not doing cooking in the kitchens right now at our central location with Lindsay. They're preparing the food and delivering. So I want you guys to experience and see what that looks like. And the dish machines and convection ovens that you approved maybe a month ago, they're going to get those too. So while we have the demolition, we're going to go ahead and add that as well. The domestic water lines, is going very well. This project and the way that we're doing it is really a pilot in which I want to do every summer. We have 76 domestic water lines that are scheduled, which is a lot. And we want to do it in the best way, least interruption into the classrooms, but at the same time, we have to have the time to be able to do these various updates. So we are right now in the process of moving 3 schools, staff temporarily, and Red can attest to this because he's one of our move coordinators. And then Katie's been helping with us with the TS, and Mike Dunn, he's been my right hand or left hand, whatever, man on helping with this, especially since I'm still new at the district, knowing all the different people and the departments to be a part of. So our move week is next week. We are starting the move process, and we are super excited. We've been planning the domestic water line since November. So it's something that I feel very confident in. But I also know this, and I just want to be transparent to you, is that there will be some things that come up that we could not have planned for. But that is why we have been so diligent in planning what we know, because there will be instances that we don't know. So we've had kickoff meetings at all of the domestic water line sites. The equipment has already been ordered. In some cases, there's been staging that's already happening at some of the schools, not where it could be seen, but in the background, because it's super, super important that we have, when we move them back in, that we're able to do registration and enrollment. So this is the same phased approach that we did for Rincon. You guys remember when we did Rincon, but it was emergency and we didn't get to plan as much? Well, it's doing that backwards, but doing it the right way. And the way we are going about this phased approach is based on the feedback that I got from, and Damon got back from, the construction folks and the contractors that were working on it. And that's what they requested. So how did this come about? They told us. And it's also some of the principles and things that we did in Tulsa. That was just a given. When you're in the summer, you're going to have different sites shut down so you can get the work done. So that's super exciting. I'm glad about that. We should have most of the HVAC controls that we were working on complete. I'm pushing. And when I say complete, that means all the various documentation, any training we need to do. So that's really what's left. The controls are pretty much finished. I do want to also highlight the school parking and parking lot pavement preservation project. We have gotten some funding from the AZSFD, and Warren, Wheeler, and Gale are the sites that we have gotten a go-ahead. So I'm just waiting to get that quote so we can get started. Another site that we have received funding for is Carrillo, the water drainage project that we brought before you. So you guys remember there was a real interest to get that done before the monsoon season. So I'm waiting any moment to get that quote. As soon as I get that quote, we're off to the races on that. And so we did do a portion of the bond for that. I believe it's $119,000 that the bond is doing, and then they're doing $48,000. 44? Okay. So we are starting to track that. So my accountant, I've asked him to track everything that we're getting additional funding for, or unexpected funding, any extra. So we can later on say, okay, these are the monies besides the bonds either that we saved or that we have stretched those bond dollars, because we are super, super committed to doing that. The only other thing that I really want to highlight, and you'll hear a little bit more about this before, you remember there was the permanent classroom construction upgrades. that's starting to happen too. And that's a fun project. That's a super, super fun project because we're able to, in some instances, like with Rincon, it'll be removing the portable and having a new structure. And then we also have Tucson High that has an existing structure, but we're gonna build out the wings and be able to, you know, make the classrooms a lot more user-friendly, student-friendly, up-to-date, all that kind of stuff. So Red's gonna tell you a little bit more about that. And that was also in the packet of my little overview of what that looked like. So right now, we have spent $43 million. We have $70 million that's been approved from the beginning of when we started and where we are now. I think that's pretty phenomenal for our first year. I mean, so when I just want to remind you of something that Dr. C said early on, and now we're doing it. I said, go slow to go fast. We're starting to go fast. Another commitment that I have wanted to do and that the bond wants to do for transparency and also accountability and collaboration is the school visits. I've always wanted to do that. I was hoping I could do that straight out the gate, but it was so much to learn and build, I couldn't do it at first. So we have started in scheduling the bond principal school visits. What that means, you guys remember I did a survey. We are talking about opening up the survey a little bit longer because I want a few more principals to be able to have input. I think we had like 58 principals that we had input from, but I would like to have more because I use the principal survey, which has a number of questions for them to, how would they prioritize things in certain categories? If you had $387,000, how would you spend it? Did you already do some projects that are listed in the bond book? So it gives us this wealth of knowledge that we can look at right now and be able to look at trends, be able to look at, you know, how we might, if needed, make some adjustments or at least come to the Bond Oversight Committee for adjustments. So that data has been super, super helpful, and that's my jumping off point with the principals. Have you guys ever taken a survey and you always wonder, what happened with that? Not anyone here, right? Ricky, have you ever had a survey like that, Ricky? No, of course you have. But anyway, so that, so I start with that, you know, after introductions, of course. But that way they know we're looking at the data, and truly we are data driven. And I let the principals know I may not be able to make the changes or the requests you have, but I certainly can listen. And like I said, I'm trying to figure out, you know, what does this mean? How can we, that information at least be considered? Okay, so the ones I've gone to so far are listed there. I think I'm gonna try to do a picture with every principal. So I missed one principal, but I think that'd be kind of cool to have every time I go out to have a picture with that principal. And I do also do a tour, so they are able to show me certain things that they may have issues with or want me to be aware of. So it's been really nice. It's been really nice getting out there. And Tucson's big. Man, sometimes when I go, it's like I'm driving 40 minutes. So, all right. The bond newsletter. This is the creation of Denise, our administrative assistant. And I tell you, every month I get more and more impressed with just the creativity of it. And I feel the information. And hopefully you feel the information's good. We have had really, in my opinion, a pretty phenomenal response. So right now, and again, remember I turned this in almost 2 weeks ago. So at the time, it was 27.6 thousand views, and that's mainly because of the families. It went to like 41,000 family email addresses. We send it to the BLC, we send it to the governing board, we send it to our leaders, and it goes to staff. So we're trying to cover as many people as possible. Well, at about 7,500 views, they averaged looking at it for 9 minutes. That's a really good, viewer number for someone to be viewing it. When we went large, that went way down to 1 minute. But it also lets me know that right now it's 29.4 million views. So it's gone up since I actually pulled this. That at least they have awareness that it exists, and they also can, if they want, look and review it. So that's part of our commitment with the collaboration. The bond newsletter, so it also has some stats I want to tell you, and I'm sure some of you guys can make some theories or your thoughts about what it means. But out of the videos, 19 people went to the bond website. So drove people or users to the website. 22 people watched the BOC recording. So in the newsletter, we link it to our actual recording. So even though they may not be able to show up at one, if they want to review it, that's another way that they can get the information if they so choose. There were 47 people, he's there, Kevin, 47 people clicked on your Sabino thank you video. Just by the way. You like it? Was that you doing it 47 times? Okay. Anyway, and then there was 41 Sam Hughes clicks on the thank you video. There were 32 virtual town hall views. And I thought that was pretty good because you remember that was an evening opportunity. Remember we talked about before that they were able to watch that as well. And then there were 30 views on the What's Up in the Bond office. So it's just another way for us to communicate. And I'm pretty excited about that. Those statistics are showing at least that we're trying, and that some people actually are responding. Any questions or thought about that? Oh, one other thing. Someone talked about the subscribe button. Denise, is she there? Yeah, raise your hand, Denise. She found out how to do it. So in our May version of the newsletter, you will have a subscribe button. So you don't have to go to the website to do it. Now we still have to figure out exactly, if somebody forwards it or whatever, but that way we can have a distribution of people outside of TUSD. So progress is promised, your bond dollars at work. Okay. And okay, I don't know what they said, so I'm going to just leave that alone. All right. So there's another development. There's another one development. Okay. So you guys can't say I do not listen. We do listen. We do. There was a request, is there somehow that instead of to be a pull that we could do a push? Like how can we get the information out to people without them having to go to the bond website, which we do want you to go to the bond website, right? But not everybody absorbs information differently. So we created with the help, I got to give kudos to communications department. They came to our department, they showed us how to do it, and we created a bond Facebook page. I hope you have your phones, and I hope if you're not already liking us and following us, there's a problem. We do need to do it. All you have to do, TUSD, Bond 2023. You go to Facebook, you type that in, you find us, and you need to follow us, and you need to like us. And I do want to report, we started this Monday. Was it Monday? I don't know where my staff is. I don't remember. Monday, something like that. We haven't had a whole week yet. Currently, we have 11 likes and 24 followers. So hopefully we can get some more. I already know that Sophie's already on there. I know Erica's already on there. We talked about public notices, right? So we posted our own public notice. Besides the TUSD website and all that, we have an event. And yesterday I said, join us at the VOC committee meeting. So again, it's just another way for us to communicate to our constituents. I would say, by the way, that Robeson Elementary has already followed us, and so has Miller. Our key dates. We are well into quarter 4, which started April 1st. June 12th, of course, we're here today. We have bond oversight June 12th, but I think we're going to talk about that as well. It's just a lot going on. And I appreciate the support. I appreciate the feedback. And now I will open up for questions if you have any on the report. Yes, ma'am. Tiffany.
Thank you. Okay. I just had a question going back to the parking lot preservation.
Mm-hmm.
Would it, and this may not make sense, but would it make sense to do parking lot preservations on ones that are getting the domestic water lines, since those will be dug up anyway? Or is that not a process?
It depends. And when we're waiting on funding, we don't know when we're going to get that. Also, it would have been, great if we had it like a year before, because remember, we had to do the planning way back in November. So one of the things I will be presenting to Ricky soon, he doesn't know it, but I will be presenting like a package of what I would love to see for every year for summer. So we can plan like ahead to know that these projects that are coupled together make sense because you got the various schools down, or it's just some projects make sense. Just like when we did the kitchens, go ahead and do the ovens, go ahead and do the dish. Another one could be whatever we decide with fields. If our HVACs, like Sabino, Kevin, see, it catches his attention when I call his name. We also are looking at, since Sabino's going to be closed, we had them down for getting some improvements for HVAC. So definitely makes sense to do HVAC improvements while you don't have staff there and students. So that is something we're looking at. Perhaps, especially if we can get kind of ahead of the game with the improvements of the money for the payment. Because the other thing is, as I talk to my subject matter expert, Damon, he tells me that it's better to do it summer anyway because the pavement and stuff is not rock solid. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a lot of times doing these projects, it's a lot of interdependencies that you have to look at, and funding is one. Did you want to say anything more about that? You good? Okay. Oh, how you doing, Dawn?
I'm good. How are you? So I think this is the right time. On the bond status report that's all colored, I just have questions on the rankings, the colored rankings. To me, there's a lot of third quarter issues, or items I should say, that are not completed, but yet it says they're on track, or it says they're I feel like the dates and the colors are not really jiving on a lot of things. Maybe you can explain some of that.
Yeah, sure. Well, remember I told you that on some of the quarter 2 things that they were going to be prolonged, for instance, HVAC. I told the team that it's going to bleed into quarter 3 and 4 because there's not much we could do with getting either equipment, or the quotes were going a lot slower than we anticipated. So as you're doing a project, if you find out that you're not going to be able to meet your date, then we told you that our expected date is going to be X. So therefore, to me, it's not going to be off track until it's after quarter 4. So that's why we're really trying to get that done. So it's based off of some of the projects I did revealed to the Bond Oversight Committee that they're going to bleed over for various reasons. Was there one in particular you wanted to
No,
talk
so-
about?
So at what point is it at risk? Then?
So I would say, and it depends on the project, so which one in particular are you thinking about?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. For which project? Okay. Mm-hmm. Right, 6:30. So line weaver, so let me kind of explain to you guys what's happening with the HVAC. Most of them are showing, if you look at, I think I included the percentage, like 90%, 99%. The project is done as far as what the public will see, like it's functioning. I don't close projects until they actually have the documentation has been turned over to our operations. So there are multiple ones on the HVAC that have not gotten their closeout documents turned in. So I'm not gonna I'm not going to close it until they give that to us. So like I said, most of them, if you look at let's look at line weaver, for example. Does anyone have that document right in front? I have it. So on line weaver, give me just a second, since we're talking. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah. Great. Appreciate that. Okay. So on that particular project, the line weaver is 25%. So that one I would start turning like yellow soon. I've been working with the PMs on making sure that this is updated and making sure that we get these documents. So right now, if you look at the HVAC, this is old too. This is 2 weeks. It's not where we are now. So HVAC controls overall is 89%. Like if I pulled this up right now where we are, but we do need to get those projects in. We absolutely do need to get that projects in. And I'll be turning those, like we're getting ready to go into May, yellow. So hopefully, like I said, we're 89% for all of them. Hopefully we will have very few. So that's the reason why most of them are 90%, are 90%, but in the case of line weaver, so we will follow that Damon note but we meet every 2 weeks with that team, and I have been pushing. We got to get this closed out.
Okay, so
Mhm.
if you go a little further down from where you're at with Line Weaver, like all the parking lots are at 1%, but they were a 3/31 end date, but they're marked blue and green.
Yeah.
So it's kind of-
So let me explain the parking lots. Again, that's not we can't control that because it's based on funding outside of TUSD. So if you notice the ones that, and I don't know that I can scroll to, can you guys help me on that one so we can get to the parking lots? I can't, yes.
Line
So-
32.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I see it. So all those are showing 1%. Right now, they're showing, again, this is 2 weeks old. So the Warren, the three that I just spoke about, we moved to 10% because now we almost have funding. So originally, yeah, we would have loved to have gotten funding from the AZSFD March 31st, but if we don't, we can't, proceed. Now, if you guys would like me to not put a date, because we can't predict when they will provide funding. Sometimes it could be 2 years, 1 year. So we just stay in constant contact with, I think her name is Mary, and sometimes they run out of money. So it's like, how would you best like to see that when we can't do the funding, and would you rather me just not put a date?
Can it be noted on there that this is delayed due to
Sure.
whatever? And I don't even really care what the delay is. I just want it
To
to
reflect?
show Yeah, to show where it's at. Like, I'm not trying to blame anybody or
Yeah.
say something's.
We can, there is a notes field that I haven't been putting on the report because I didn't figure you guys wanted to delve that deep. Or I could just know, that there's a delay,
Or extend the date, because we know obviously it's not going to be, the end date is not 3/31 anymore. Just, so
Sure.
it's kind of consistent and makes sense with what I'm reading.
Okay.
That's my
We can do that. I'm glad to see you looked. Thank you for letting me use your. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Do I have a motion to approve these current bond project updates presented by Dr. Carter?
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We're going to move on to item number 4.02. I believe that Mr. Hernandez has information to present to us.
Good afternoon. Just waiting for the presentation to show up. Okay. Could we, oh, there it goes. Okay, so last time around we came to you with a proposal, some information in regards to the installation of artificial turf at all of our TUSD high schools with the exception of Tucson High. We took back your feedback, we collected some information from our vendors, and now we've got an actual proposal that we hope that you will support so that we can move this forward to the governing board. Damon is gonna be kind of my punter for all things technical. So ask him all the hard questions, throw all the softballs at me. So just as a reminder on the overview of the need, currently we do not have artificial turf as part of our strategy for fixing fields across the high schools. The only exception was Sabino High School. That was the only one that actually had funding incorporated as part of the bond proposal. Principals have expressed to this committee and to the governing board as well as community members about the current status, the conditions of the fields, leading to safety concerns for both the students who use them, but also community members who come onto our fields to use them as well. The affected schools are essentially every high school, Catalina Choya, Palo Verde, Pueblo, Rincon UHS, Sabino Saguaro, and Santa Rita. Like I mentioned, Tucson High would not be part of this. They had a replacement in 2017 when they had the flood. So there's always the flood that takes something out. In our case, it took out Tucson High's football field. So we're looking at rolling this out as a multi-year strategy. I know that one of the things that was asked is this possible to be accelerated, and it certainly can. Right now, our focus is just kind of to focus year by year, depending on the availability of vendors, the access to the schools, and so depending on those factors, we can certainly move those projects along a little bit quicker. So the current recommendation would be to do the field and the prism. However, the committee requested information about football uprights and tracks. And so one of the things that we did incorporate in here are the uprights. The tracks are on a different strategy. So we're looking at funding for tracks differently from this, but to complement ultimately the fact that you don't want to put pretty on top of ugly, right? I mean, that just kind of doesn't work well. So we've already started kind of taking a look at what needs to be done at every high school for tracks. So this proposal will not include the tracks at this time. Sorry, Kevin. We're almost there, man. Yeah, I know. So as a reminder on the funding strategy, so the replacement cost is between 1.8 and $2.1 million at each high school, depending on the need and depending on the installation. So we need approximately $14.4 and $16.8 million total. This is based on the quotes that we have today for Pueblo and Sabino High School. And so the bond funding reallocation recommendation is to take the $275,000 that was allocated to the 7 high schools, which is about $1.9 million, use the 2.1 million that's already been allocated to Sabino High School, which is 2.1 million, and then take 12.8 million of the 17 million that's currently available for high school laptop replacements in order to fund this whole project. So all told, we estimate that this funding, this reallocation, will be about 16.9 million. So it should cover all, if not most, of the costs for the installation of these turfs and the uprights. And I'll break down what's included in everything so that you can see it. The board agenda item actually includes copies of the quotes with all the detail that was presented by the vendors so that you could see kind of good, better, best, along with all of the different things that were incorporated, and we'll go over those now. But this is kind of just a rehashing of the funding strategy. So right now, the installation would be targeted for Pueblo and Sabino. There are 3 options for the high schools. Like I mentioned, good, better, best. You know, they go as from 1.7 million to just shy of $2 million. Each one of them includes the following elements, though. So there's maintenance equipment incorporated in there. So there's a $20,700 price tag in there where the company will actually provide equipment to the district, which we will own, for the use by our facilities management team to maintain those in the interims. So, you know, just kind of do regular routine maintenance on those fields. However, there is also an annual maintenance package, I'm skipping to number 4, that's incorporated in there. So it's $63,250. The vendor will perform biannual intensive maintenance for 8 years. So currently the life of these fields is approximately 8 years. So during the entire lifespan of these, the vendor will come in and do the really deep kind of maintenance. So that way we're getting kind of both, right? We're doing it, kind of keeping them okay, but we're also getting a vendor to come in and do kind of the expert level. There will be an addition to track and field events on each end of the field. So right now it would add AIA clearance space for track and field events, high jumps, shot puts, those are the hammer throws. That's the kind of track and field. But also for soccer. Right now a lot of these fields are not up to code for soccer. So this would allow them to be used obviously for both football and soccer, along with some of these track and field events. And you can see the designs that were in there. Those are close to final. These gentlemen back here still have to kind of look at them and say, okay. But that's pretty much what they're going to look like. Each one of includes 30-foot goalposts. So they come with those uprights at both ends of the field with 8-foot offsets. So that's in there as well. And then it includes just a 5% discount that ranges from $92,000 to $105,000 for each one. So all of that is rolled into the price tag for each one of those, on top of sales taxes and all that good stuff. So the implementation plan, as I've kind of restated, is Pueblo and High School starting this June, or Pueblo and Sabino, sorry, this June. And then if we, upon your recommendation for approval, and if the board approves on May 27th, so that these can be available for the student athletes to begin using for the fall football season. We would proceed with that with 2 high schools per year, but as I mentioned previously, we can accelerate these depending on the availability of the fields and the availability of the actual vendors, because obviously we want to make sure that both of them in sync. And we would start after Sabino and Pueblo, we would go with Choya and Saguaro. We would go with Catalina and Rincon UHS. Rincon UHS recently had kind of a refurbishment, so you know that's kind of why they're kind of in the middle of the pack. And then finally, Palo Verde and Santa Rita. Palo Verde is potentially going to be looked at shared funding from the city of Tucson. They're looking at doing a drainage construction project in that area. That will incorporate the Palo Verde high school football field, so there may be some funding available, but we've got to give a little bit of time for City of Tucson to get to that stage in their planning. So again, if circumstances change, we can certainly accelerate those. We would still bring these to you every time though, right? So even though we're changing the strategy, we still want you guys to be okay with, hey, this is what we want to do at Choya and Saguaro, for example. So right now, we're just looking for approval on on the funding, and Pueblo. So recommendation number one is for the Bond Oversight Committee to approve recommending to the board the better quotes, so middle of the pack, to the governing board so that they can vote on these on May 27th and we can begin installation as soon as possible at Pueblo and Sabino. Recommendation number two would be that the Bond Oversight Committee authorize the staff or recommend to the board that the staff be authorized to reappropriate the funds the way that we've indicated. And then, like I said, we would return in the future with requests for approvals for additional high schools as those start to kind of come up on the schedule. So, any questions?
What's the difference between better and best?
See, that's a hard question. So, Damon.
Damien, come on down.
No, good question. So the vendors provided a good, better, and best, and the biggest difference is in the infill and what the cross-section looks like. So if you cut the field in half, what is comprised from the bottom up? So from the granular fill, and more specifically to the rubber pellets, the better is a cork composite, which is a cork that is being used. And that has a longer longevity for the compression or the D-max that AIA, it gives it a longer lifespan. So that's why we went with the middle piece. The best is what the companies are using at the NFL level. I don't, I mean, they're really, really technical. So we figured the better, the interim level didn't provide that additional extension of life on the G-Max for, the shock absorption. So we went with the next level. Two things also, it also provides better drainage for the facility so that when it does rain, the cork allows more dissipation of that, of the water on the field.
I was also told that the best option maintains the temperature closer to natural turf. So,
Okay, so I have a question. The gopher problem, how are we gonna mitigate that, or do they
we're gonna
eat
stick dynamite
cork?
into the, no.
I'd hate to see this done, and then like a year later, we've got gopher coming through.
No, again, great question. So as part of the cross-section, when we talked about bringing in the fill, so we had to provide each of the firms our soils report so that they could take a look at what the soil strata looked like at each of the fields. They provided us with an okay that yes, it looks consistent with what they use for base. So what we're looking at doing is they're going to provide a geogrid, which is you really see geogrid more used in like California on Seismic Road. It's basically a plastic grid that's matted, and it's like 2-inch, 1-inch holes, and it's constantly laid. So they lay that down first as a geogrid to basically prevent any penetration from the subbase. So that's going down, and then on top of that you have the rock, the angular rock, and then on top of that you have basically your subbase, which is like a sand material that gets graded and compacted, and then the turf will go on top, and then the geocomposite, the granular fill, gets put in at the end.
Red.
Yeah, I got a question. On the soccer, you said you're going to, when you do these, you're going to make them also regulation soccer fields?
Yes, that's
Which means they have to be wider.
That's correct.
Now, some of the schools I've been at have long jump and running right alongside, and there's not room to go wider. What are we going to do with replacing like the pole vault and those running tracks? Do we have a plan to do that? I don't know where Pueblo and Sabino
Yes.
stand, but
Yeah, we do. So as part of the estimate, I think Ricky brought it up. I think it was like 200,000 because we had to move those events to another location onto the site.
Okay.
So basically, they're being moved so that we can accommodate an AIA soccer field because it is wider.
Right.
And when you do widen it out, it goes into those areas for those events.
Yeah, and that's
But
why,
that's included in the estimate.
and that's why we originally brought up the idea of the track, because I didn't know if you had to expand the track to make the room or what the plan was, so but thanks.
Yeah,
for-
we found space at each of the sites.
And by the way, it's a shot put, not a shock put.
Shot, yeah.
It's a rock. It's a round, smooth rock.
Thank you.
Are you looking, I'm sorry, are you looking for a recommendation, or are you looking for an approval or a recommendation from us for the better option or the best option?
So our recommendation is for the better option.
Okay.
It's up to you
But
if you
we
guys
can
want to
decide
move
if
up
we wanna
to.
do- Okay.
Yeah, so the better option right now for both high schools is just over $4.3 million. That's the amount of money that we would spend on these two schools.
And what would the best be?
The best option would be, I believe it would jump up about another $150,000 to $250,000. So it'd be about 4.5 to 4.6 million
For both?
for both.
Now, my question is going to be, is that good enough to pay forward that amount when we were saying 4.3? To me, 150,000 is not much more to get the best.
Well, I would like to hear more about the temperature thing, because that seems to be important for where we live.
Yeah, so in the better, in the option that we chose, there's an option that's in there also is we're adding water cannons. So water cannon basically is kind of what it sounds like. It's a huge, so right now, all the fields have irrigation sprinklers and they turn on automatically. A water cannon is just that. It's a huge, looks like a cannon, and it's a water hose that's all steel, and you connect it at the end of each site that we would add a water connection to, and it basically waters the field to reduce the temperature. It does reduce the temperature. They have a specification. If you water it time frame before any match, it reduces it anywhere between 6 to 9 degrees, the temperature. In addition, the one that we chose with the Cormax, it's not the rubber component, which is on the better piece, and that also reduces the heat infiltration on the field because it's a core product. It's not a rubber, and the rubber is really what brings a lot more heat in. So that's why we chose the mid piece to say, yeah, we'll use the Cormax as the infill, and then on top to reduce temperatures, let's get, a water cannon at each of these sites.
But that would just be for when they're gonna use the surface. That wouldn't be like I guess the best option is for it to be cool all the time, and then the better option is just to be cool during the matches.
Correct, and again, the best option goes specifically to the infill that you use. So it's a different infill. It's the same Cormax product, but on top of the Cormax, they put a fabric on top of that Cormax product that reduces the heat dissipation, which is what you get on the fields. So that compared to a water cannon was, I want to say, like $80,000 more. So we figured we can get the same G-Max to increase the life of the field, but also reduce the temperatures by adding a water cannon, as opposed to going to the ultimate and spend another 80 to 100,000 and get that best option.
Well, actually, I'll follow up.
I'm just thinking on water usage. Have we done an analysis on that as far as expense and everything on the water and where we're going to get that and which type and all that?
Yes, we have. So we're right now using Tucson High as a baseline, because obviously Tucson High doesn't have, a natural surface. It's turf. Right. So what we're doing right now is we're doing cost analysis to show what that water usage and consumption is as at Tucson High in comparison to Sabino and Pueblo, so that we can say, look, here's what the cost savings is going to be just in water consumption alone. And that's what we're doing right now.
So one other point, I read the bids, And I was going through their exceptions, and one thing that concerned me for risk for the district or the bond is that they don't want to take any sort of, when they do the subsoil, that's what it was. And so I'm not an expert on the subsoil. My wife is a landscape architect, and she told me that could be a potentially very expensive and derailing. If they were to do the test and then be like, oh, we have to redo all this subsoil, then I'm just curious from a legal and protective risk standpoint, what are we looking at there?
Great question. So again, this was done a couple weeks ago. We just got, I received a email from their civil engineer saying that he went through and reviewed the soils and they don't anticipate any soil expansion. And the soils report confirmed what our initial design was. So that's from their civil engineer.
But the way that, from a contracting standpoint, kind of the legal side, so the way that contracts are set up is there, you know, if we don't have the availability of dollars because there's just these added expenses, there is the kind of, we opt out, right? Like we can opt out and then move on to another vendor or seek another solution, right? So it's not like we're sealed. So.
Well, that was my concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I guess I want to clarify one other thing. So they're providing twice yearly, like this service, and I did the math for 8 years, that's $500,000. So they're essentially getting a $500,000 contract to service the field for 8 years. And so.
That is correct. And they're doing that as part of their warranty. So they include that package because they come out with much larger equipment. The equipment that is being provided for our grounds maintenance is basically a rake. It's like a pull behind that we can add to like a John Deere. It's maybe 5 feet long. And then there's another piece that is a magnet, about 5-6 feet, that they connect to the back of a John Deere, and they just drive it back and forth. The maintenance that is provided, the company will come out twice a year for 8 years with their equipment. And what they do is a more intensive maintenance. And the biggest piece there is they do fluffing, for lack of a better term. And then the infill, the Cormax infill, because obviously the more you play, I mean, I don't know if you've played on a turf field, but the granular, the core or the rubber pieces, they end up coming out as you're playing any sport. So as part of the maintenance that they come out twice a year, they bring infill to fill whatever sport was recently done, and they bring the infill as part of the maintenance and spread it out throughout the field.
Thank you. Sure.
And we will give the site administration an opportunity to help with the design and color and what they want on the field.
Yes, most definitely. I know we've been working with both Frank and Kevin, and looking at different options and colors, and so, yes.
But we will not put Kevin's face anywhere near, anywhere on this thing, okay? Maybe Frank. Maybe Frank.
I'll move to approve, but I would like to see us do for these particular two schools the best option.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the cost is an additional $46,000 each.
Oh, I would
So
say, I
that's-
would offer a friendly amendment to your motion that we recommend the best option for all of them. Do you
Okay.
accept that friendly amendment?
Just these two.
Oh, we're only doing two? All right.
We're only doing two. If you want to do, yeah, we'll do these two.
Quickly.
When we come back with Choya and Saguaro, I mean, you can study those if you want to go. I will tell you, they're all siblings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what these two guys get, Cesar and Bobby are going to want. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
So just, I want you to be aware.
I just want to make sure, now you said, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this right. The better will require the water cannon, the best will not.
So the
Is
better, they'll still both require a water cannon because moisture brings the temperature down.
Right.
You're just not gonna need it as often on the best option because they have the fabric that is another layer of their built substructure.
I'll also add that goes along with the green initiative for the district and water reduction. Do the principals want the best? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys want it, or you guys like want mid?
Best also has ground up olive pits in it, which is how it reduces the
Yes.
temperature down to be the same temperature as natural gas.
Martinis at
So it
football
reduces
games.
it to twice
Yes.
as much as water.
Just checking.
And it, like I said, that filter, it's basically it's called the Schmitz pad, that is on the best option that they input in all the NFL fields. That Schmitz pad is what reduces the temperature on that infill.
I would just like to make sure that the design is beautiful, because this is a big commitment. And
So
you know,
the
I'm all
so the
about
de-
that.
the designs, the preliminary, I'll call them the preliminary designs,
Yes.
are in the board agenda item
I
right
see
now. If you have input, you are welcome to speak to these gentlemen. I noticed that Erica has a question on the screen.
I do. Thank you, Ricky. And I'm with the group and with the principals. Better is best. You know, they deserve it. They need it. I think it's great for our district. But realistically, I mean, I know we're taking cuts from technology already. Do we have the money? Are you able to come up with the money from somewhere to
Yeah,
cover these
I
costs?
mean, I'd need to take. I mean, for this one, yes. I mean, right now the better option, specifically for Sabino, that's already been allocated 2.1 out of its bond allocation. We're gonna have to cover a little bit of the difference. For Pueblo, I mean, we're just gonna have to come up with the additional $46,000. But then when you multiply it times the remaining sites, I mean, we're talking probably another $500,000 or so over the life of the entire replacement, that we'd have to obviously accommodate. If the recommend,
well,
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, because I'm with you with as far as them being siblings. I mean, it's only fair what one gets, the rest of them get as well. But it's just making sure that we're not going to be cutting too much from other, like, I know there's water savings and, you know, water and all that, but you know what I'm saying? I'm all for the best. I want to support this, but I don't want us to run into problems later that we're taking money from other things that we also need.
Like, I would also add to that, like, I think that the principals need to be aware that to get this, you're giving up something. We had the pie conversation and the well. And
Right,
so
right.
it's still a pie, and I just want to make sure that this is going to cover all of the students and all of the staff and all of the families at their schools, to understand that if we do this, it will be a reduction in this. And I think
Yeah.
that needs to be aware.
And I
for
think
all of
Kevin
us.
and Frank are gonna be great ambassadors for that. So
Okay.
I'm just looking over them like
Who
a
needs
parent over their
computers?
shoulder.
Okay, but
So-
I mean, isn't this something that we should also be taking our school communities into consideration? And you know, does how do we go about that? How would we even
I agree.
take a vote?
So
I don't know.
I think we should, the schools could also look at going to the alumni. There are some pretty influential alumni out there that might put their name on something
Yeah,
for $50,000.
If ultimately we decide, let's say, you stick to Sabino or Pueblo for that matter, for the better option, it's not like we can't, if we have outside groups, alumni groups, boosters, what have you, who want to cobble together kind of the difference between better and best, that's fine. I mean, we can take money in and then have bond and together pay for the whole project. But it would sort of delay this just because we'd want a commitment from, the Badger Foundation not the Badger Foundation, like Pueblo High alums, for example, to say, yeah, we can come up with $50,000 and I know for us, there's a bit of expediency given the fact that we want to lay these out for the kids to use come the month of August or even the month of July for summer practice.
So in the construction, is there a possibility we can go better to say across the board we approve it, and then after the fact of approving the better, can they add it up to the best if the money comes through? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it all
As an
depends.
option for each site.
It'll, yes, you can. It'll be a little difficult because the sequencing of when that approval comes. So it makes it more challenging. It's better to know it up front
Sure.
So that we don't stop a contractor in between. And again, you know, I kind of preface what Dr. Carter is always mentioning, you know, we want to make sure that we address the risks up front. What I wouldn't want is we say, hey, they got the money, contract already started, and they start building, and all of a sudden they say, well, you know, that additional pad, we can't get it for another 3 weeks. And now we said we were going to open August 1, and we met with Herman House and the administrators, and they said, yeah, we didn't plan, you know, to be playing away for a certain amount of time. It just makes it a little more challenging.
Before you,
Ricky? Oh, sorry, Dr. C. Go ahead.
so I just want to remind everybody, and thanks for doing the pie scenario, because that's true, that's real. We already talked about that, right? But I also want to talk about this summer. We already have swallowed a lot. And the more you talking about if this scenario, I mean, we just talked about parking and pavement, you know what I mean? So you're going to increase the risk overall if you do like a stair step. I mean, we really, I would say, my recommendation is pick one and we do it. And more than likely, it's true. If we do best, then we got to do best for all. I'm just saying from an equity standpoint, and already, you know, we want to make sure that the community feels like we're being equitable, period. So I just want to say doing things halfway or sort of kind for projects, it really, really is going to increase your risk high. And we're already pretty high right now.
Did you have a question, Tiffany? Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, I had a question.
Go ahead,
How
Mr. Gonzalez.
important is the reduction of the temperature that you guys are talking about with a better project versus the other one?
How
How important is it? I mean, how much does that cover reduce the temperature?
So it does reduce it anywhere between, so they have a couple of the schools in the Phoenix area recently did them last summer. And some did the better option, other districts did the best option. What they've noticed is a difference of about 10 to 13 degrees.
And
For the better?
Yes,
for the better?
yes.
And that's significant.
Yes, so the 10 to 13 degrees, so then the question came up, well, how are you dealing with that? And they said, we use the water cannons, and then we get down to more of like a 4-degree difference. So to them, the investment was to go with a better option and use the water cannons. But again, we talk about, I think you had mentioned best, you know, our climate action plan and sustainability. You know, water conservation is big, especially now. So, I mean, if we can get to that best option to minimize, again, the water consumption, you know, again, those are cost-benefit ratios that, you know, come into play.
Tiffany?
Yes, I just wanted to kind of echo what Dr. Carter said. I think we need to pick one and go with it because I think there are some alumni associations that could make up that difference, but then you've got schools that are not going to have that. I mean, I work pretty close with Palo Verde, and they're just starting out with their parent groups, and they're not going to get to $50,000 difference. And so it feels a lot like an inequity. I also like the green initiative of not using the water. I think we're better at that in Tucson than they are in Phoenix, but so I'd like to stay better at that. But those are just my 2 cents.
If I may, whoever.
Sorry, Erica, I'm sorry.
Yeah?
I'm Miss Miranda Carter.
Yeah.
Delia Soto had her hand up. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I do feel a little uneasy voting for the best option because that means we're taking money away from other resources that might benefit more students, such as laptops and facility upgrades, whereas the field, it's only for a smaller group of students.
Erica, Miss Miranda Carter.
Thank you. I was just going to say, when I was referring to the consulting the community earlier, like Ms. Arvizu stated, we do know that, you know, and going with the best and taking money from other places or other repairs,
So
I do realize it's going to delay the project, but is there any way that, and maybe not with the first two, but I would like for our principals to maybe consult with their, staff or community. Hey, this is a big thing, but these are the things we're going to lose, and maybe just, I don't feel comfortable spending money without and taking things from other departments and without taking those departments' opinions into consideration.
yeah, those dollars are not being taken from any specific department. I mean, those are dollars that are allocated to the schools already. So those dollars were going to be used at that school. It's just they're being repurposed. The only reason they're being repurposed is because the amount of money that was allocated for Chromebook replacements is substantially higher than what they need.
Right.
Yeah, I provided that estimate a few weeks ago. So one other point I will make is, we could, if you want to go with the best and you want us to find the difference, you know what I'm saying? Like take whatever the difference is in price tag between better and best, have the bond pay for better, the better price tag, but then we cover the difference so that we can basically buy the best for everybody, right? Because if it's 50,000 times 9, I have to find $450,000 over the course of the next, maybe 3 to 4 years. That's not entirely unreasonable for us to be able to do.
And that was my concern. I just wanted to make sure that it was doable, that you could do that. Thank you, Ricky.
So with that in mind, Ricky, when you say that you can find the money, is that something that district leadership is open to doing? Since we're getting a majority of our funding for this project from the bond, if the district leadership's open to finding that 450,
yeah,
then I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
to go
ultimately the board would also have to say yes, but if that's the recommendation between now and the 27th, I will identify that funding, at least to kick off these two schools.
Right.
But I think if we can do 450 over the course of the next, 3 to 4 years, whatever it takes to get us, through the entire process, that's manageable. $50,000 to $100,000 a year is relatively manageable for me to be able to carve out either within existing capital dollars that we have or other sources of funding, so that, to Ms. Miranda's point, we're not really kind of digging deeper into the school's allocations for other things. But I do want to kind of echo what Ms. Arvizu said, which is, we want to make sure that we're communicating to the schools, right? This is an investment in your entire school community, because it's not just your students. I mean, now I think about Pueblo, right, and the fact that they've turned away community groups for the use of their fields. I mean, that's going to flip around. It'll actually generate income for that school. So there are double bonuses down the road that I see from a return on investment.
Well, and I think it might be a very good PR move if we do it right too, is that, hey, we got this through the bond, but here's what the district's doing to give us the best. I mean, I think it's a win-win, and for the total amount of our project and what we're doing moving forward, I think it's a no-brainer personally to do best and then have the district come up with the extra. I think that's, in my opinion, that's the way to go. I think it'd be a win for everybody across the board.
Sure. I know this is a priority for the superintendent, so I think he'll be flexible with what you want to do.
And I really like the idea that we don't have to find the other 450 from the bond money.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll just throw this out there. I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking two things. One, and I know we've been going for a while, but one thing I thought, you're already working with the city of Tucson. They're going to get a big tax windfall from this, and I mean, not windfall. Is there a possibility you say, hey, can you give us a break on the tax on these big projects? Just because this is going to increase community engagement with the schools and blah, 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 blah. Just an idea. I don't know. That's
to get like a sales tax abatement.
Yeah. Because I used to work for the Economic Development Office, and they have those things, but it's something you could look at.
Yeah, we could certainly ask, because right now the sales tax is about 118,000 ish for each project.
Just
so,
yeah.
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah,
considering that
that's some sort of complexity, but I just thought maybe it's a
worst case scenario. We're back where we are right now.
But that's all.
Okay.
Ms. Ekstrom has a question. She has her hands up. Sorry.
I don't have a question. I have a comment. With all the discussion going on, I know that water preservation is very high on the governing board climate action plan. So I think going with the best and having Ricky find the difference within the next few years is the best way to go.
I was just gonna say, for the sake of timeliness of summer projects, for what we have going forward today and all the stuff that we've had a discussion about today, which I think is appropriate and good, that's sort of the discussion I think that we need to have with projects going forward, not necessarily what's been brought to us today due to timeliness. There's a motion on the floor from Ms. Bell to move forward with the best option, and I'm going to second that at this time.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
any opposed? Okay,
Our
passes.
marching orders. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to item 4.03, approval of Bond Oversight Committee meeting minutes from April 17th, 2025. Do I have any corrections or questions on that? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. So the next item is our next meeting. So our next meeting, we don't have our tech person. Oh,
I'm
wait,
sorry,
did I
we're
miss
still-
something?
We need 5.01.
Oh, shoot, okay. Oh, no, very important, sorry. 5.01, I'm ready to go. Approval of to recommend to the governing board to fund network cybersecurity devices at select USD school sites, the Data Center and Duffy Community Center. Ms. Dr. Carter?
I was wondering, I'm like, no, we have something else. Okay, so unfortunately today we don't have the executive director, Robbie Hamadan, here today to do the presentation, but we do have Mike Dunn, coordinator of school office services for TS, to present. Mike.
Through a box. Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Mike Dunn. I'm the coordinator of school office services in technology services. I joined technology services back in 2016, and I've been with TUSD since 2004, not coincidentally the year my daughter started kindergarten at Borton Elementary. So I'm here to talk to you basically three things. We're going to talk to three things, and then we're gonna tie them together at the end. First, how does this work? Ooh, an overview of the Technology Services Department. Second, background of network cybersecurity devices and E-rate. And third is current need, cost, and impact. So Technology Services, we've got a little infographic here talking about my department. At the top there, you'll see instructional technology and online education. Those are the people who go out and support the teachers on using technology, trainers, if you will. On the right, on the east there, you got the field support team. That is the boots on the ground. Those are the people that come when there is a technology problem in your office and in your classroom. Those are your field techs. On the south side of the graphic, information technology infrastructure. There's your system admins, your email administrator. Then you have the CSC, the Customer Service Center. Those are the guys that you call when you have a problem that then open up a ticket, or you put in the ticket and they assign it out to a field tech. That also now includes your transportation customer service as well as your facilities customer service. It is all one unified customer service center. And then lastly, in the upper left there, you've got applications and data services, and that's where I come from. I'm over the school office services department, half of which I think is here today. And we are the people who both train folks on using applications. Specifically, my department in school office services are the operational side software, your ERP system, your student information system is within application services, etc. In addition to that, my role within technology services is the project management liaison to the bond. So the bond office meetings, I am the person that goes back and listens in on all those things you wouldn't think are technology projects. And I listen and say, if we're going to close 3 schools, there's going to be a big technology lift in making those phones ring in other places and getting those staff remapped to other printers. So that is why I am on Dr. Carter's most chatted list. Okay. So we're going to talk about the network, because that is what our last topic of E-rate addresses in TUSD. The network devices ensure the proper connectivity, cybersecurity, speed, and quality of the network. Network and architecture includes wide area network WAN and local area network LAN. Systems include data, wired and wireless signals, applications, internet, and cloud computing. Type of some network devices, and this is exactly the hardware we're talking about funding today. Firewalls, routers, switches, and WAPs. Anybody know what a WAP is? There's one blinking blue at us right over there. Wide area access point, wireless access points. They are in every room in TUSD. So now let's talk about E-rate. Those would not be here without E-rate. The Education Rate Program is a federal program established in 1996 and operated by the Universal Service Administrative Company. Under the direction of the Federal Communication Commission, so the FCC provides this funding. E-rate provides discounts to help ensure that all eligible schools and libraries have affordable access to 21st century telecommunications and internet access. E-rate discounts range between 20% and 90% based on the free and reduced lunch counts. Nationally, E-rate FY25 funds are approximately $5 billion. Discounts to TUSD since 1996, when the program started, exceeded $30 million at discounts ranging from 60 to 90% based on that free and reduced lunch rate. And what does it cover? Category 1 is basic access to the internet. That's your now fiber backbone back to your ISP provider. And category 2 is focused on the internal equipment and connects to delivery internet access. That is what goes from your little telecom closet on the floor of your school out to those access points and puts it back on the ISP. So this has been going on since 1996. In 1996, I didn't have a personal computer. I didn't have a flip phone. That girl that started aborting was born in 1998, and the only way I knew that she was in labor was a page 911 to a pager, because I didn't have a flip phone yet. So to say we've come a long way since 1996 is an understatement, and that would not happen if they didn't supplement the funding based on the free and reduced lunch counts. So when we look at how that relates to TUSD, we're looking at basically an 80% funding based on free and reduced lunch. Oh no. Thank you. E-rate? No, I just blew right through E-rate. So basically at 80% for 20 cents that we put down on a dollar on a purchase, E-rate would fund 80 cents on that dollar. So how much of that $5 billion we get for this year depends on how much we can spend and get augmented by E-rate at an 80% rate. So we're going to go through exactly the breakdown of what's on the replacement list. So switches, wireless access points, and related components at these 14 sites. So these are indeed an upgrade. And you'll notice on that list of sites, at the end of the first line, Duffy Community Center. So we're talking about this style of access point right here. That's end of life. So when it comes to upgrades to firmware being pushed out to devices, these are end of life. So the new protocols that are on every one of the computers, you go off to Best Buy and buy a new computer, the wireless protocols that it's using to connect, those get updated year over year, and eventually when a device is no longer supported on the latest protocols, they're termed end of life. That's where we're at, and that's what we're looking at. Every high school campus in the district is on this list. So that's what we're looking at doing a end of life device refresh for. The total cost of that refresh is $2.245 million. That's for the switch and the wireless access point and related components. So that's your distributed network on each floor of your site. The bond ask for it would be $449,000, which is 20%. That is what would need to come out of our pocket in addition to the 1.796 that E-rate would fund out of that 2.245 million total. And from there, we're going to move upstream. We'll go up to the firewall. This is a $250,000 device, $257,000. This is the nexus for your internet connectivity. This is what will be supplying the root of your defense on your network when you are subject to a DOS attack or anything where they're trying to overwhelm network access points in order to slip through a Trojan, a virus onto your network to leave you vulnerable. The strength of your firewall and its ability to be updated is indeed your first point of defense. That's the one that's acting faster than a human can analyze, right? It's looking at the packets that are coming across your network and it's looking for those patterns. That is our first automated line of defense on the network. So the bond request would be $82,000, and you'll notice it's at 32% versus 20% of that funding, and that's due to the some of the software that's required to run that firewall is a software purchase not allowable by E-rate, so we have to pick up part of the mandatory cost of the software that's associated with the hardware. So the E-rate could fund $175,000 of that, the hardware costs, and our portion would be up 12% higher in that case because we want the software that's associated with that firewall for management. And then all the way back to cabling, this is indeed your fiber optic and the backbone that's going back out to your ISP. And the same sites would be included for the cabling job. It's $80,000 cost. Potential E-rate, again, that's simply hardware. Cabling is at 80%. $64,000 would be through E-rate. $16,000 would be our cost, pass it on to the bond. So the total bond request is $547,000 for our end of things. And that's not a pure 20% because of that 32% bump when it comes to software. But indeed, it's a 2.2, what is it? Okay, and lastly, that's the firewall slide I breezed right over. And that's the cabling slide, okay. So it's a $547,000 on our side. So now I will leave the floor open for questions. Yes. Network and storage, yes. Anybody else?
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the recommendation to fund network cybersecurity devices at Catalina High, Cabot Elementary, Choya High, Data Center, Duffy Community Center, Erickson Elementary, Grijalva Elementary, Palo Verde Magnet High, Project Moore High, Pueblo High, Robeson Elementary, Rincon University High, Sabino High, Saguaro High, and Tucson High Magnet. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the networks for all of those schools you just mentioned.
Thank you. A second? Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Jeffrey Anthony,
Yes.
Catherine Arvizu,
Abstain.
Don Bell,
Yes.
Luis Gonzalez,
Aye.
Red Moro,
Yes.
Tiffany Rogers,
Yes.
Delia Sotelo,
Yes.
Sophia Blue,
Yes.
Erica Miranda Carter.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I think we're on item 6. Thank you. 6.01, summary of Phoenix High School renovations visit. Red Morrow is going to give us that update.
You want to start it?
I do want to mention too, I know you're tracking, on the non-specific items, the network and storage shows 7 million, but it's also could, depending on how you do it, on the proposed bond program, page 5, you have access to updated technology, 61 million. So just when we will finalize which category, but it could come out of either one. Does that make sense? Because the 61.9 million, that's for schools and students, and then there's non-specific, so like the Duffy could be at not, because it's not a school. So we'll come together which pot and make sure the right amount. Okay, all right, sorry about that. I just want to introduce it and then I'll give it to Red. But on April 16th, we brought a team, Damon, he drove, and we went, it was administrators from Rincon and myself, and we had one of the BOC members get to go. And the reason for the visit is that we want to explore and see what's out there. And we wanted to get the lessons learned from someone else that recently did it, which makes a whole lot of sense. And we'll be doing more of that, talking to people that are already doing what we're trying to do. And so I did a little summary of some of the things that we took away, but we really wanted to hear from Red as to what he thought about the trip and if it was worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. We went to visit a couple Agua Fria high schools up in the valley, Canyon View, which was in Buckeye, and Agua Fria High School, which was in Avondale. And the thing that kind of struck me, it was a good contrast for me because it was at both ends of the spectrum. We had Agua Fria, which was built, I think, 56. And then we had Canyon View, which is like brand new. I mean, you can go on some of the maps, it's not even on there yet. So with Canyon View, I mean, it's hard to say anything but wow, because the money that they spent and the way they laid it out was very user-friendly. They had open pods where you could connect classrooms and you could close classrooms. The outdoor common area, they built the school to mirror the sun path. So the buildings provided the shade. I mean, it was really well thought out. There was really not much to pick apart on that. I mean, it had all the bells and whistles. But between the two, the thing that really got me most was the curb appeal and the first impression. Even with the Agua Fria High School, the old school, it didn't look old. From the landscaping to the signage to coming in to enter the school. Both schools had a specific entry with security and sensors, body scans, where you had to come in, you had to show your ID, they scanned your ID, they gave you a pre-printed visitor's pass, and then you were on your way. The other thing with the new school is they had like a double barrier where it was bulletproof coming in, and then they had another wall and spot behind them where they could escape should something happen. So it was very well thought out in their planning. But getting back to the Agua Fria, because we're going to be looking at adding buildings to existing campuses. And what I noticed about them is they, although it was old, the blending of it was very well done. Even off of the arch, like at Rincon, where we're looking at, Rincon University, you don't want to forget the university high administration. With the dome buildings, even when they added on to those up at Agua Fria, they made it kind of fit in, and it looked like it kind of belonged. So, but I noticed also a couple things was the security, and the cameras were everywhere. We're lucky at Doolin to have 32, but now 30 working cameras. There's some blind spots and some other things, and I didn't get any sense when I was at Agua Fria that there was any blind spots whatsoever. It was very well laid out, and the other thing that I noticed was they took existing dead areas and they added shade structures to create like picnic common areas. So they really utilized the areas that they had and beautified them to make it look like it was part of the school. The thing that stuck out really big when talking to the administration, because they were talking like phases 2, 3, and 4 phases. I'm going, what do you mean 4 phases? She goes, oh yeah, we're planning in the future. And I said, well, how are you going to do that? This is a bond initiative. I mean, you get overrides. And she goes, oh, our community supports us. And I said, well, how do you get them to always go and do that? She said they flood the neighborhood. They take their athletic teams, they take their fine art teams, they take their parent groups, and they go door to door, and they are very aggressive in their community to get the bonds to pass. So I think we're in a good spot because we're really doing some good things here, and hopefully we're setting up moving forward to where we get this reoccurring bond and community partnership, because that's where these things are going. Because as much as Agua Fria doesn't look like a school from 1956, they're still looking forward and looking at what they're going to do next, come the next bond override. So I think that's something that, Dr. Carter, you've done a great job with the advertising. We got to just keep the word of mouth going, because we got to get the community to understand that, you know, every few years we might need your help in getting a bond oversight so we can do these type of things. So it was really a good feeling. The community on the campus was good. Now, granted, who knows what it's like every day, but the overall layout and what they did to renovate their schools and involve the community, I thought was very, very impressive. So I hope Rincon University took a lot from it. I hope we took a lot from it when we decide to build those buildings at Rincon University, the building, get rid of the portables. But I want us also to maintain flexibility here as well. And I like the district working with the bond as well, because whatever's allocated for that building, based on what we want to do and what we want to move it forward with, may not be what is allocated. So we're going to have to be creative in getting what is best for our kids moving forward. We just may have to, you know, ask the district or be creative in our financing. But very good eye opener, and I hope we get to do a lot more of that, because nothing makes a good administrator other than stealing other administrators' stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Morrow? Okay. So we're going to move on to item 7.01. Before I talk about the future meeting dates and agenda items, I did want to make an announcement. Ms. Delia Sotelo, this is going to be her last meeting, but I did want to say thank you so much for your service. I know that, you know, this takes a lot of our brain energy. What do they say now? Bandwidth. It's not just your time, but your energy and your thinking. And I really appreciate your service to this committee. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I just want to say, as you pick a new board member, I hope that you consider taking on an educator, as I was the only educator voice on this board. And we have, thousands of teachers in TUSD, so I hope that we can find somebody who's willing to take this on.
Okay, thank you so much. And so we'll, for the next meeting, does anyone have any agenda items that they want? I know we had talked about the Mission View item, and did you have one, Mr. Gonzalez, that you wanted to add?
I was thinking about placing Mission View's request on the next agenda.
Okay, good. All right,
Yeah.
so we have a couple of people. Anyone else have anything? Okay. Our next meeting is going to be on Zoom. Our technology folks are not going to be available to set this up for us. So I just wanted to announce that's going to be June 12th, 2025, and hopefully we'll have our incomparable, wonderful person, Chair Miranda Carter, back, the person that doesn't skip like 3 items on the agenda. I was like, all right, let's go. So thank you for bearing with me today. If there, am I forgetting anything at this point? Okay,
No.
have to check now. So if there are no objections, this meeting is adjourned.